Okay, good morning. Let's see, who have we got here? We've got a few participants already. I can see 4 people. 3, sorry. It must be a quiet morning today. I can see Michelle, Natalie, and Tracy. Good morning. Can you guys hear me and see me? Just leave a comment in the chat so I know that I'm not talking to myself here. That'd be good. Perfect. You can see me and you can hear me. Brilliant. All right. Looks like it's just us today. A couple of weeks ago, I had a much busier one, but I think about 40 or 50 people. So nice and easy today. Cool. All right. Is this the first time that I've seen Tracy? Hey, how are you, Tracy? We spoke last week or this week? No, last week. Yeah, I think it was last week. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I'm going to share my screen and we're essentially going to run through, just give me 1 second here. Just got to turn that on for Zoom, screen sharing. Let's see if that works. All right, can you guys see my screen? Let me know. Just put the chat out. Yep, perfect, cool. All right, I'm just logging in here. I can see that we apparently launched a brand new website. First time I'm looking at our website here. So normally I would open my advisor program. All right, cool. So essentially it looks like if you want to get some more information, if you just go to business-.com.au after the session, the big blue button on the top right, which is digital solutions, will actually take you to the old website on which you can then see, for example, our advisors, and the advisors button is up here, and you can see here we've got a bunch of people working with us. For some reason I'm always the top left hand side, not that I mind, first in line, but essentially what you can do is if you haven't subscribed to the program just yet, you can check out my profile here, and then once you wanting to get a one-on-one session with me, you can have 3 hours of one-on-one time with myself or one of the other advisors. You can just hit the register button on the top right hand side to get started. $44, it's a no-brainer. The government pays for a lot of the bills, so you might as well tap into that. All right, I'm just going to close those 2 up, and we're going to get started with Google My Business because that's what you're here for. So who has a Google My Business profile? Give me a hand in the chat to let me know if you've got a profile or if you're just starting out with the profile. And yeah, that gives me a bit of an idea of what we're going to be talking about today. Just starting, perfect. You've got one. Okay. All right. So essentially, Google My Business. The reason why businesses should use this is, especially small businesses. First and foremost, it's free. Second of all, this is essentially probably the biggest traffic channel we have here in Australia when it comes to people trying to find what they're looking for. And I'm just going to show you quickly what that would look like if you would have a profile that shows up in the top 3 and how that sort of can impact your business. So essentially, let me close it up. Let me just turn on my do not disturb, otherwise I'm going to keep getting messages. Okay, done. So essentially what happens is if somebody has a small business, so one of my clients, I've got some private clients, and what happens is they're a tile cleaning business. So tile cleaning Perth is one of their main keywords, essentially because this is what most people on Google would be looking for if they're trying to get their tiles cleaned. Now, what happens here is if I search for tile cleaning Perth and I'll scroll down, one of the way the first page of Google looks, obviously you've got your ads, and this is where you pay for Google ads, which can be quite lucrative if you know what you're doing. Second part of it here is the maps or the Google local section, which is essentially what we're going to be talking about today. And then everything underneath there is essentially sort of your SEO. And what I mean by SEO is like when you hire an SEO company or a consultant or whatever, essentially what they would normally work on is trying to get you ranked on Google through the organic search results here. Now, before Google really made this business section really prominent, standing out above the actual organic results, I would have said, yes, that's probably a better use of your time to try to get up there on that first page. However, these three options here now that we have, essentially, if you have a budget, then I would say, look, start spending some money on Google Ads, because essentially that will give you at the very top. It'll give you a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of clicks, a lot of visitors, etc. But second best here is definitely to Google My Business. It's a free service that Google provides you. And obviously this stands out much more clear than just the regular SEO side of things. The other thing with SEO is this will take you 3, 6, 9 months before you can actually get up here, depending on how competitive your industry is, how good the SEO person that you've hired is. It still comes down to budget, because you have to have a lot of content, you have to get links, etc., etc. Now, because this is so prominent, this is one of the main things, for example, for my client, who is a tile cleaning person, tile cleaning business. Essentially, this is the only thing he uses in terms of online marketing, and he is booked out probably a month and a half to 2 months in advance consistently. And that is purely based on his profile performance, because he's always number one, or at least in the top 3, depending on where we're looking. But he gets a lot of clicks, a lot of views, a lot of contacts, quote requests, etc., simply by being on in this top 3. Now you'll see there's obviously more businesses underneath tile cleaning, right? There's quite a few tile cleaners here in Perth. And you can see, if I click on the see more businesses, there's a whole bunch of other ones sticking underneath there. Now, the reason they're not on the homepage is because Google will only pick the top 3 in that main category. So in this case, we've got Tile and Grout Cleaning Perth, which is my client, and we got Wizard Carpet, Tile and Grout Cleaning, and Alpine. Now, essentially, this will vary depending on where you're sort of located. Quite often when people search, for example, the keyword tile cleaning near me, instead of the actual location, when I search for near me, you'll probably see that I'm getting a different result here. And let me just see what happens here. So essentially, you can see when I use the keyword near me, now all of a sudden I get 3, Alpine is still in there, but I get 2 other ones, and my client is no longer here. And the reason being is because I'm in Joondalup at the moment. So I'm about, what, 30, 40 Ks away from Perth City. So Google is basically seeing, hey, you're too far away. So we're going to show some other results. But you can see he's still number 5 or 6 here. So even if we would do a little bit of extra work on his profile, we could potentially get him up if people would be looking for Joondalup, right? So I'm going to show you now some of the actual results that we're looking at. So once you're onto Google and you type in Google My Business as the main keyword, essentially what happens is when you log into your Google business or your Google account on the top right-hand side, once you log into your Google account, you will actually start seeing this section here in the middle. So nobody else can see this. And essentially what happens is whatever business profiles you have access to or that you manage, they will pop up here. And Google used to have a different layout in terms of how you could actually manage and update and set up your profile. But they've moved everything here now. So you can't access the old way anymore, unfortunately. I got a couple of clients on this specific profile, and obviously I'm going to pick the one we were just talking about. And what you'll see is once you log into your business profile, this is essentially the section that's important to you, because this is where you manage everything now. You'll see obviously with the big blue button, the tick that says, hey, you're verified and you manage this business profile. And what I'm going to do is first and foremost, look at my stats. So once I put in my business name or Google My Business, either or, you can actually start looking at your logo, your photo, whatever you use as a profile picture. And then underneath that, you see 3,449 views. So if I click on that, what you're going to see here is all the information that's important, right? So this is all the stats in terms of how is my profile performing, what sort of searches are people finding me for, how many full calls do I get, how many messages do I get, etc. So we look at here, in the period of time, June 2022 to November, so the last 6 months, we've had about 825 business profile interactions. And an interaction, and when you play along at home and you're looking on Google right now, make sure that you just click on these little info buttons, because this will give you a lot of information in terms of, hey, what does this mean? So essentially, overview, the main thing that I normally look for is on the bottom right-hand side here, which is keywords. And this will show us which keywords people used in Google that actually triggered the profile to show up on their screen, right? So if I click on see more, and you'll see it goes ascending, descending. What is it? From high to low. I always mix those two up. So the keyword grout cleaner, for example, 621 times our profile got triggered by somebody using that keyword. Grout cleaning Perth, 462 times our profile got triggered, grout cleaning, 365, etc., etc. So we look at this information and see, hey, what is Google showing us for? What are people searching for? And how can we, make use of this? Because what I normally would say or suggest is understand the keywords in here and start using those, implementing those, not only on your Google business profile, but also on your website. Because the information in here, the data we get back from Google is basically invaluable, because once we start adding some of these keywords on our website, this could be a page to say, hey, are you looking for a Perth floor cleaning company, for example? We know for a fact that Google already thinks that we're relevant in terms of our profile, but our website might not be ranking yet. And what you can see, if I go back to the homepage of Google, and once again, I'll search for tile cleaning Perth, you'll see that obviously client is number 1 here in business section, but if you scroll down a little bit further, he's also number 4 or 5 at the moment and his business name is Dirty Grout, and he's also in the organic section here. So we definitely use the keywords that we find in the info dashboard here, and we start adding some of that stuff in his website, and we'll find that we're basically now have 2 spots on the first page of Google, which obviously is always beneficial. Does it all make sense so far? Let me know if you guys have any questions. I just want to make sure that I'm not going too fast and that everybody's keeping up. All right, so yeah, you can keep up. Perfect. All right, so what we do is we'll have a quick look at these, right? So calls is an important part for many small businesses, because essentially it means that somebody went onto Google, is looking for a specific item, a specific service or a product, and they think they found it. So they're just bringing you to make sure that, hey, is it available? Do you do shipping? Where are you located? Whatever questions they might have, you've actually now opened up a line of communication with somebody who's obviously interested. So we call this a warm lead or even a hot lead. And we can see that on average, this profile is getting about 1 phone call a day. It's dropped down a little bit down there, and it's halfway through the month here. So we're basically looking at 1 phone call every single day of the week, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday to Sunday, whatever you want to look at. And chances are that these are all people saying, hey, how much does it cost for a bathroom or a kitchen that is about 40 square meters or whatever size it might be, and I need to get my tiles cleaned and my grout redone, recolored, whatever. And he basically can let them know, well, that would be roughly this much, this amount, and essentially my availability is going to be between that and that day. If you're happy to book it, let me know. And basically what happens is on the phone call they actually make the sale. Now messages is another section here which is important. Messages is essentially on your business profile. Basically, let me see if that's enabled. No, I'll get to that in a second. So basically what happens is on your mobile device, if I would search for tile cleaning Perth or your specific business in your location, you'll see on the actual profile, if I go back into there, on a mobile device, essentially this middle section comes up, right? Obviously on the desktop as well, but this will come up on a mobile device, and there's some call to action here. You got the website button, there's a save button, and there's a call button. Once chat has been enabled on a mobile device, there will actually be a send message or get quote button as well. And what that means is somebody might not be able to make a phone call right now. So they're on Google, they might be in the bus, for example, in the train or public transport, or even in a meeting, and they can't just pick up the phone and give you a ring. They also don't want to really send an email because that might take too long. So what they do is they hit the send message button. And what happens now is the business owner of the profile will get a quick message and say, hey, I'm so-and-so and I'm looking for this specific service in this area. Can you let me know how much that would cost, for example? And I'll give you some example messages that come through. But essentially what happens here, you're basically giving somebody another option. If they can't make a phone call, they can't go to your website, they can't, for whatever reason, send an email, they can send you a quick chat, and essentially you're basically opening up yet another line of communication here. All right, bookings. Bookings is essentially when you might have, when somebody has to actually get onto your calendar or schedule a consultation or some people have, some businesses use bookings for their specific type of trade. This doesn't work for everybody, but if you have like a Zoom link or an intake meeting or discovery call or whatever it might be, that's essentially an additional link that you can put into Google. So underneath your website link, there will actually be a booking link in here somewhere as well that says, hey, click here to make your booking. So once again, another option for somebody to go directly to where they want to go without actually having to waste any time looking for anything. Website clicks then, this is when people click on the website link button here. So if they would actually see your profile, but they want to know some more information, they'll click on that link. And as soon as they do, that gets attributed in your Google business profile here. So you can see here, besides the calls that he's getting and the messages, etc., people will still also just go to his website to have a look. And he's getting about between 100 and 150, 170 visitors every month. And based on whatever they see on the website, they still can make a call because there's obviously a click to call button or a get a quote button on his website. So let's say they bypassed your profile because they just wanted to have some more information, but they've seen what they were looking for on your website. And every lead, every sale, every call, every email that comes through directly from your website doesn't actually get included in this number here. This is purely from your business profile. So let's say if in one single month we're getting about 100 new visitors purely from the profile, it's safe to assume that we're still getting like 10 to 20, maybe 30% of people calling because they still want to get a quote. So on top of the calls that we're already getting directly from the business profile, he probably gets another an extra call a day based on his website traffic purely from his profile once again. So as you can see, plenty of business to be done. If you have a Google business account, a business profile that gets found in the first 3 spots. All right, does it all make sense? Like, do you guys see how that sort of doubles up when people go to your website and then it gets added on top of whatever we already see in here? Yeah, perfect, cool. And if you have any questions in the meantime, just put them in the chat and I'll try to answer those in the last maybe 15 to 10 minutes. So before you forget any of your questions, just drop them in there. All right, cool. So we're going to jump through some of these sections here, and I'm going to start off with just the edit profile. Now, edit profile is purely all the information you have on your profile can be managed and set up, removed, changed in here. So the about section here, business name. Now his business name is actually Dirty Grout, and we're a bit cheeky where we're actually using the keywords tile and grout cleaning Perth. What happens is when you make a change, Google or people at Google will actually have a quick review to see, hey, is this legitimate, yes or no? And we find that if we use the keyword that people would be searching for, or a variation or a variable of that, quite often we get up a little bit higher than if we would just use the business name. Now, some businesses will have doing the same thing, right? So Wizard Carpet using their brand name, but then they also add tile and grout cleaning Perth as a secondary part of their title. Alpine Carpet Cleaning, obviously carpet cleaning is already in their brand name, so that's fine. But you'll find that some businesses have like a name that is completely irrelevant to what they're doing. Just seeing if there's anything in here. No, these are all like Aqua Wash maybe. It doesn't really tell us like, hey, what do these guys actually do, right? But obviously then you'll have Electrodye Carpet Dry Cleaning Perth. That keyword specifically carpet dry cleaning Perth would be in their title as well. And we found, now I've been working with Scott for about 10 years, and I think we've made that change about 7 or 8 years ago. And many businesses weren't actually doing that, but I noticed that a lot of them are actually starting to do this now. My biggest thing is always, if it's working, don't fix it. And even if I would add Dirty Grout as his business title behind his business name here, chances are that that's going to impact the rankings as they are at the moment. So I don't want to, rock the boat or wake sleeping dogs or whatever that saying is. So we're just going to leave everything as is for him because he's obviously ranking really well. And yeah, there's no need to make any changes. Now, business category. You'll see here that there's an exclamation to say, hey, some of your information needs to be updated. And when I hit the update button here, what happens is Google will quite often change the top categories or the broad categories. And whatever they had in the past was cleaning service, that was fine. Let me just cancel that. So cleaning service was the current one, which essentially used to be one that they had, but then they've changed them. And now they're asking us, hey, can you please change your main service to any of these other ones if they're relevant? And once again, I'm not changing anything because we're ranking really well. But what you would normally want to do in here is once you start typing, and if I start tile cleaning, tile, for example, you'll see that there's a bunch of suggestions. So tile shop, tile contractor, tile manufacturer. So there's no real anything that's close. Now I might do grout if anything comes up there. No, so nothing is relevant in there. Floor cleaning maybe. So we got flooring contractor, floor refinishing services, floor sanding. But once again, there's no real cleaning, floor cleaning in there, and which is his core business. So if I start typing cleaning, or even just clean, it'll give us cleaners, carpet cleaning, blast cleaning, etc. So try to find the top category or the broad category that really works for your business. And it's telling us here that this needs an update, but once again, they haven't actually forced us to do it. So we're just going to leave that as is. What I would normally say is, some people ask me, how many categories do you want to put in there? So you can have a primary category, and then you can add up to 4 other categories if you want. But essentially what I would say, stick with 1 or 2 at most, because the more categories you put in here, the more it sort of dilutes the focus of the actual business that you are in. And I see people sometimes trying to say, well, we add the core service would be cleaning, but we kind of also do cleanup, and we might have also do the window washing. And once they start adding all that in, Google will look at that as a whole and say, well, this business is doing like multiple different things, which are sort of related. But it would rather prefer a business that is specifically doing that one service, because they know for a fact that if somebody's looking on Google for a specific service, they would first and foremost show up the main category, the primary category, and then they'll look at, okay, what else do these guys do? So the more categories you add at the top, the more you dilute that focus, and chances are that somebody else with less categories is actually going to outrank you. So I would leave that as is. That all makes sense so far? So stick with 1, maximum 2, and I'll get to the services part, which is where you can go crazy, where now essentially underneath your top category, you can add a bunch of services that you do. And this is where you would normally add additional things that you would also offer as a business. Can you guys, by the way, quickly tell me what sort of business you're in? That'll give me some ideas as well. All right, then the description section here. This is an important life coaching. Yeah, perfect. I actually work with a lot of life coaches. So description here, you can see in the bottom right-hand side, like there's 750 characters that I can use in terms of putting up a description. And the description, when you go to the actual search results, is the bit that you'll find underneath. Let me bring that up here. Accounting, software, training, bookkeeping. Yep. Setting up an NGO, exciting. Okay, so essentially your info shows up here. This is what you'll find underneath your business description. And this is a good chance to add a little bit of additional information that not only will tell people what you're all about, but once again, you can see we sort of try to weave some keywords that we know people will be looking for into the actual description. Perth tile and grout cleaning, obviously specialist, it might be a keyword that people will be looking for. So we really try to keep that at the very top, as in like the main focus keyword we try to put in the first sentence without it making it look spammy. And then you can see, for example, here, tile and grout cleaning once again gets weaved into the context here, or services, to really make sure that people understand what we're all about. Now, this is essentially, treat your profile as a mini website, right? That's what I would normally say. So don't just look at it as a business listing, but it's really a mini website that's interactive, and it has a lot of things that you can add in that will actually help Google make a decision whether they should rank you higher or lower than your competitors. So once you fill this out here, because what I see a lot of business owners do, they just copy and paste their about content, or they grab one of the first 2 paragraphs on their website. But I would really recommend to spend time to write this properly with keywords that you might have done some research on, to really strengthen that sort of SEO power, if you want to call it that way. So next section here, opening date. This is a little bit that sometimes will show up on Google to say, hey, this business has been in business essentially for 14 years. And what happens is, excuse me, what happens, it'll show up in here sometimes, or on the actual results up here. Let me see if that shows up. Yeah, see how it says here, 10 plus years in business. I can't highlight. Oh, let's see if I can highlight that. 10 plus years in business. So essentially, whatever starting date you've put in underneath here, the opening date, Google will pick that up and say, well, this is how long they've been in business. You can see the other guys here have been 3 years in business. Alpine has been around for 20 years even. So essentially, this is a good indicator for somebody to, when they're looking at the first 3 results here, they're going to look at some of the things like, okay, how many reviews are these guys getting? What's the average score? How long have they been in business? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that would really look for, and then make a decision on which one of those 3 they're going to be clicking on. So make sure that you, if you have an opening date that's sort of relevant, just put it in there. All right, jumping back in. Phone number, self-explanatory. So Scott, my client here, just uses a mobile phone because he's usually on site doing work, and he just wants to get a call in. And he's anti-digital, so he really still uses his old work calendar schedulings, little black book thing where he basically writes down all his quotes, all his jobs that he has to go to, and his availability. But essentially, what you can do in here, you can add like a local number in here. So in Perth, like would be, or WA would be 08, whatever. You can have a mobile number. You can even add a 1300 number if you'd like to. But yeah, I would normally say have maybe 2 phone numbers in there just in case somebody wants to ring a mobile or just an office location. Website, once again, self-explanatory. Just put your website URL in there. Short name is irrelevant. Google has phased that out. We can't change it anymore. And we can potentially delete it if we want to. This used to be used as like a handle or a nickname. So you could actually go to a link that would have Dirty Grab Perth in there as part of that link. For some reason, Google removed that, but we're not deleting it. Once again, I'm not changing anything in this profile because I don't want to rock the boat. So leaving that as is. Now, another thing is a lot of business owners, especially small one-man bands or people who just started out working from home, they don't necessarily want to have their address on their profile, right? So there's an option you can either have your address up here. Now, we actually have removed the entire address because we're using service locations for Scott, but you can have your address in here. And then once you decide, look, I actually don't want people to see my address mainly, you can just flick that off here and save it. And what happens is on your profile itself, it'll give us the, let's have a look, the areas served. So you'll see here, Perth and nearby areas. So we click on that and you can see that, hey, these are the sort of areas that he wants to work in. So that's really depending on your profile setup, how you want to do that. If you're okay with an address on there, just leave it on there, but you can always still add your service areas in there anyway. Speaking of service areas, this is, if I were to put in Joondalup here, for example, that's going to potentially trigger my business profile to show up when I actually am searching from Joondalup. I won't add it in because that's too far of a drive for him. But essentially, this is where you would want to make sure that you've got all the main areas that you want to service covered. Michelle had a question. Yeah, you can basically just turn off, when you work online, I would like pick the country, for example. I would just say Australia-wide, for example. So what I would normally do for a service-based business, I would have the main city. In this case, that would be Perth. And then some of the main suburbs that he really wants to work in. So even though Google knows that Armadale, for example, or Mundaring are based in Perth, I would always add Perth anyway as like an umbrella. So yeah, that's your business location, your areas. And this is important because if you don't put the service area in there, you're potentially not going to get found in that area when somebody is looking for your specific type of service or product. All right, opening hours, we're essentially going to, always want to make sure that this is correct. And there's nothing worse than when somebody goes to, let's say, it's a Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, and you want to go to a specific store that you haven't been to for a while. You Google it for the address and it says, hey, we're open today. You drive for half an hour, you show up and they're closed for whatever reason. So super annoying, can potentially leave bad reviews if that would happen to someone. And yeah, it's just a bad customer experience. So make sure at least once a month, just double check to say, hey, has anything changed with our opening hours? If you're a one-man band, you can essentially add some additional hours to say, look, I might be out of the country for a couple of weeks, so I'm not taking on any new clients at this stage. So make sure that your opening hours are always correct. Same thing here for your holiday opening hours. Anything that's relevant, make sure that you fill that in and that you're also, because what happens is Google will actually show people that you're closed. And once again, that's going to stop people from getting annoyed at you. Add more hours. This is mainly for hospitality. So you can see here, breakfast, lunch, delivery, dinners, kitchen, etc. So unless you've got a bar, restaurant, or maybe a takeaway place or whatever it might be, this won't be relevant for anyone. More from the business, there's a few things that keep changing here. Whatever is sort of politically hot or current, like COVID used to be a big thing in here, where there would be an entire section where you'd have to say, you have to wear a mask when you walk into the store, or only 3 people at a time, or so depending on what's going on in the world at the moment. Sometimes you'll see that from the business, there's going to be options here where you can basically pick and choose if you want to add additional information to the profile. And that's essentially your edit profile section. So make sure that you, once again, have your description written up properly with some keywords that you really want to be found for. Make sure your service areas are clearly located, and try to put your main keyword in your title if you can, because we saw, for example, that some of the other competitors are doing it as well, but they are using like Wizard Carpet has their brand and then their keyword. Sometimes you can have your keyword and your brand, but you have to play around with that. And don't be afraid. Like, you can make the change, and then if Google doesn't like it, they basically tell you, sorry, we can't make this change. We're going to keep it as is. So it's not like they're going to penalize you and you're not going to get in trouble. Okay, so the review section here quickly. I'm just looking at the time. Reviews is obviously quite simple. Whatever reviews you're getting from people, keep an eye on these. Now, I would normally say reply to every single one of them, good or bad. Try to keep it professional. If somebody has a bad experience for whatever reason, give them the option to say, look, I'm very sorry that this happened to you, or we'd love to make this right. Please call this number or send an email to this address. Be professional, be courteous. Don't go fighting people, even if you're in the right and they're in the wrong. Other people don't know that when they see your profile. So make sure that you basically keep that polite and take it offline. Sometimes you get people that by accident leave a 1-star review because either they don't understand how the system works. They think 1 is the best and 5 is the worst, or they might even leave a review on the wrong listing, which happens more often than not. We get them about 2 or 3 times a year, a 1-star review, this business sucks. And then the guy was really like, whatever. And then it turns out that, hey, sorry, but you're actually not a client, and it looks like you might have been, talking about a different type of business. So because Scott is my client, we keep an eye on that stuff when it happens. And what we can try and do sometimes is, for example, you can see everybody who leaves a review. We can actually click on the review in the reviewer's name. This person has had a few reviews. Now, sometimes what we'll find is with a bit of sleuthing or a bit of digging, we can actually see, or we can find that person and reach out to them to say, hey, I'm so sorry, but it looks like you left us the wrong review. Could you potentially, make a change to that? So keep an eye on that. Now, the cool thing here is essentially you can really see what people would like mention. So value is highly mentioned in the reviews. Responsiveness is important to them. And yeah, this will give you a little bit of insight in terms of not only what they think about your business, but also what sort of keywords they look for, right? So your reviews are a bit of a gold mine if you're a nerd like me. And I would go looking for, okay, what do these people say? What's the language? So grimy, for example, our floor is pretty grimy. Now, grimy would not be a keyword that I would have thought about when I would, put their SEO campaign together or whatever. But now I could know, hey, I can actually use the word clean, grimy floors, for example, because obviously people are using those types of keywords. Obviously vacuuming, mopping twice a week. I called in Scott after reading some of the reviews here. And so once again, very, very clear that the reviews are really important because he made the decision after he read the reviews. Transformation is unbelievable. I wish I had taken it before photo. So he's actually even uploaded a photo of the work that Scott did for him. And it's fantastic. So this is the kind of stuff you really want to keep an eye on, because it's not just about the star rating. It's really about what are people saying. Does that all make sense? I haven't had any questions, so I'm assuming that everybody's still here and it all still makes sense. Now, to get a review, there's a button on the top right-hand side which says Get More Reviews. And once you click on that, you basically get a static link that is always going to be the same. And what happens is if I grab this link and I open it up in a new tab, so in Scott's case, and I keep telling him to do this and I don't think he does it, but as soon as you've done the job or the service and people are at their highest happiness level, so to speak, because, hey, it's been fantastic. And, we all get excited about when somebody's done a good job for you. And on the spot, if we can actually get that energy and that enthusiasm right into a review, that'd be fantastic. Because what happens often is, like, once the job's been done, and if you reach out a couple of weeks later, hey, I would love to get a review from you. Quite often there's a large percentage of people who kind of, they lost the enthusiasm and they go, oh yeah, I'll see when I get some time, I'll do this for you. And it usually never happens. So the faster you will ask for a review, the better the results are going to be. Because if I give them that specific link that I just showed you, that your profile will have a specific link itself. Once I click on that, on their mobile device, on the desktop, wherever it is, it'll automatically pop up with this main form. And obviously I can put in the star rating here, the quality, etc. Did I use the business, yes or no, and add a photo. So what I would normally suggest is to have that link. Do I want to discard? Yes. To have that link ready, and or even put it on email signatures, invoices that you might be sending out, because that will be a touch point where obviously somebody can open up an invoice, has paid it, or like a receipt, for example, and you can have a little note in there and say, hey, if you're happy with our service, we'd love to get a 5-star review from you or a 5-star rating. Just click here and make it super easy for them. And you'll find that once you start adding and implementing this, more and more people will actually start leaving your reviews, simply because it's very easy for them to do, and they're in a heightened state of excitement, so to speak. All right, messages. So the messages section here, and I talked about that a little bit in the beginning. We don't want to turn those on. I just don't want to get notifications here, but you can turn the notifications on for yourself there. And what happens here is, now we turned off his notifications probably about messages about a year ago, because essentially he was getting these messages, and every time he responded with, hey, just give me a call here because I'm really busy, and whatever it might be. And he can't be bothered reading messages and sending them back and forth. He just wants to get a phone call, and that's it. Now, the reason why we turned them back on a couple of weeks ago, actually, or maybe a week ago, is that even though he might not respond directly, under the chat settings on the top right, there's 3 little buttons. You click on chat settings, and there's an automated message that we can send. And obviously, let me flick that on. So the chat's been turned on. This is where you can turn it on and off. Send read receipts, so let customers see if your business read their message. This is where you get like a little tick to say, hey, business has just received your message and has read it. So people now know that, okay, I can expect a reply now because I understand they've actually seen it. If it doesn't say that it's been seen, they understand that, oh, they haven't seen my message yet. So it just, causes less friction. Now, the welcome message here, this is an important part. So even though somebody sends a message and he's not in a position to reply even within a day or because of whatever reason, what happens now is this welcome message gets sent directly to me if I would open up a chat with him, and that phone number here will be clickable. So if I'm on a mobile device and I'll send a chat and I get the first response, hey, if I don't reach you within the next couple of minutes, click here to send me a message. So that, once again, is an additional line of communication. So somebody might now decide once they send a message, oh, he's not available, or whatever, but let me just give him a quick ring. So it increases the odds of you still getting that person and that warm lead on the phone. Does that make sense? And you can also add an email address in here, right? So call me on this number or send an email to, and then put an email address in there. Both of those links will be clickable. So very easy for the user to actually go on and still get in touch with you. Now, some of the frequently asked questions, these are specific to the chat itself. So you can have automatic responses. We haven't used this yet. Now, this is sometimes handy, right? So you can ask the question, and what happens in here, somebody might say, do you, operate in this specific suburb? And you can say, yes, we do, or, no, we don't, or whatever it might be. Or do you work on Saturdays? And I think he does Saturday mornings. So yeah, we work Saturday morning between 8 and 12, for example. Or whatever question that somebody might have, it will pop up in the chat as a pre-asked question that they can click on if it's relevant to them. So, add maybe 4 or 5 questions that you would usually get from your clients. Is this in person? Is it online? Do you have parking at the office? Do you, I don't know. offer Wi-Fi, whatever questions you get, just dump them in there and people would actually get the information they need without actually you having to answer those questions all the time. Does that make sense? It should make sense. All right, cool. Let me close the chat settings up here. All right, next section there, your photos. That's pretty self-explanatory. You can add your photos in there to see, the office space, whatever's relevant to your business. Reason I would always add photos, and I can't show you because Google has changed the layout, but some of these photos, so these are photos that Scott has taken over the years and uploaded, and obviously his product lends itself really well to before and after photos. But you'll find that there's some photos on here, really like stock images, like this one here. This actually, it doesn't show us the stats anymore, but probably 3 weeks ago when I checked this photo uploaded in 2015 has had over 75,000 people or impressions seeing this picture on Google. And the reason being, if I would go back to Google and I look for tile cleaning Perth in this case, on the top here, you'll have like the all section, which is just your default Google results, but then there's also an images section. And what happens on the images section is now you can see there's a lot of these similar pictures on here. And quite often people will use the images section if they kind of know what they're looking for, but they just want to have the reinforcement of the visual to make sure that, hey, that's really the thing I was looking for. And I can see these photos here. You can see some of these are quite similar to the one that Scott has, right? Like just somebody here, like a hand cleaning some tiles. Now what happens if I click on that image and I click on that again on the right-hand side, I now get a visitor to my website, because even though they just looked at it for an image on Google, this will now come up and you can see this is obviously straight away get a quote now. So chances are these guys, because they're ranking pretty high for that image with the keyword, they're still going to get traffic that way. Does that make sense? So images are important. Upload them, make sure that they're in there. And yeah, you're basically just, you're going to have a lot of benefit just having that additional visibility. All right, performance is essentially what we just looked at on the top here. The 3,449 views this month is under the performance tab. Advertise, that's basically Google trying to get you to sign up with the Google Ads account so you can start running ads and essentially, like I said in the beginning, get in front of in those 4 sections here. So this is obviously Google trying to upsell people into the additional products. Speaking of products, there is an option to add products and services to the website itself, or to your profile, sorry. And this is what I said initially. So you got your primary category, which is the cleaning service, but then underneath you can add, let me just edit, you can add multiple types of services that you do. So silicone replacement would not be a top category or a broad category, but it would fall as a service underneath the cleaning service category. So you can pick and choose additional services in here. So make sure that whatever you do and it's relevant, you can add these in. If you can't see what you would offer, you can add a custom service and basically just use the specific keyword for the service or the product that you're selling here. Does that all make sense? So you can go crazy with your services as long as you keep 1 or 2 main categories. That's an important distinction, because quite often I see people trying to add multiple categories and then they try basically adding their services as categories, but it doesn't work that way. All right, just jumping back out, and you can see once again, some of these services will change based on feedback from Google users or other sources. Please review these published updates to make sure they are accurate. Now, I'm not going to make any changes once again because it's ranking well and we don't want to make any changes to rock the boat. But sometimes, you might stop at specific service. Hey, we no longer do grout color sealing for whatever reason. So you basically uncheck that. And then you can say, but we have started making office and workspace cleaning a service. So you basically add that in. So just keep an eye on that to make sure that it's always up to date. Unless you're ranking really high, then try to make as little changes as possible. Products. This is essentially, we did a quick test for him a couple of years ago, and this obviously wasn't going to work for him because every time he gets a quote request, it's for a different size property, and it basically means that the bigger the property, the longer he's got to work and the higher the quote's going to be. But essentially, tile cleaning would be, in this case, a product or a service that he would provide. This is a price point that you can put in. You can have the description. You can have the product description. You can have a button here that says order online, buy, learn more, get offer, whatever sort of works for you. And then obviously the link, and this would be, in this case, we're using as main homepage, but this would ideally be directly to the product or service that you're trying to sell. So that would have its own page on your website. We can delete that if you want up here, but yeah, once again, we're going to leave everything as is for him. And you can do the same for, not for services. Where are we? Updates. Now I'll get to the updates in a second. I'm just wary of the time. I really should make these longer than an hour because I think we just about cover everything. So the booking is where you would actually add your additional link. As you can see here in the example, you can have a additional booking link to, let's say, Calendly or whatever software scheduling scheduling software you might use, or sometimes Office 365 or HubSpot will have bookings where people can jump in and make a booking, pay on the spot before they even come in for a consultation. So you can always add a link in there. Very handy. That makes an additional entry point, so people don't have to go to your website, try to find a booking page, because the more people have to look for something, the less likely it is that they're actually going to convert. So make it easy for somebody to have that straight up in their face, and that there's no mistake about, hey, this is the booking link, and get onto my calendar straight away. Q&A. This is essentially, okay, let me see. How do I get photos that I previously uploaded? Okay, I'll get to that in a sec. So your Q&As is where people on Google can ask specific questions, and somebody here says, hey, I just got tiles finished and there's a grout residue left on the tiles. Will you be able to remove this? Now, ideally, Scott would be able to answer this. I don't know when this came in. This is a bit of an odd one, but quite often there'll be generic questions. Like, once again, is there parking out the back, out the front? How far away from the train station are you? Whatever sort of questions people might be asking relevant to your business, they can ask a question, and then you can obviously like it and put an answer in. And where those questions end up, this is not the same as the chat, because the chat automated replies are different. But what happens here is when I go into the profile, there should be a section. Let's see. Yeah. Questions and answers. And you can see if you click on all questions, this is essentially, once again, where you see the actual question that somebody asked. Unfortunately, Google doesn't tell us when it was asked, so it's probably too late to reply to this person right now, because they've more than likely either already got in touch with Scott or went somewhere else. But yeah, you can also ask your own questions. So you can just hit up ask a question, and you can use this a little bit as, and I wouldn't maybe do it as your own profile, maybe do it from a different profile, but you can ask specific questions here and treat this as like an SEO exercise where, you can put a question in that says, hey, do you clean bathroom tiles and shower, not curtains, what's the word? Shower glass, whatever it's called. And then basically what happens is, once I ask that question, then I can put the answer in. Yes, we do clean this specific item and that specific item in this location. What happens is I've actually now added some of the keywords that people would potentially be looking for on Google into the frequently asked questions. And as I said, if this is like a mini website, that's now content that is part of our mini website. So Google will see, hey, people are talking about shower glass cleaning as well. And potentially they're going to start showing up when people search for shower glass cleaning Perth, potentially because that keyword is now in our frequently asked questions, Google is going to show that up on the top 3 spot. Does that make sense? So try to be a bit smart about that, and really have some decent questions in there that you can also use with the additional information that you want to have as keywords. Okay, so how do I get photos that I've previously uploaded? Yeah, so they made the change, right? So the quickest way, so if you click on add photo, that'll just open up the actual section here where you can look at, hold on. You seem to have a logo, but it's not showing up. Yeah. So the logo section here, yeah, I don't know why Google has done this. I feel like they're not quite ready with this yet. I think they're still working on this. Now, what you would probably do if you want to add a logo, just re-upload it and put it on here as the, as you can see here, with the photo section, there's an option to say, this is the logo. And then there's a cover photo that you can upload. And then you can have photos like, let customers peek inside your business. Now, they used to have that management tool where you can actually, remove photos and change photos, whatever you needed to do. But I feel like with the transition they had from the old system to this new layout, they're still working on some of the things in the back end. And I think within a couple of weeks or months even, that will actually look different, where now it says, hey, manage your photos. I just think they're not quite ready for it yet. Top right-hand side on the click add photos, that'll give you slightly, if I click on the photo itself, it'll give you some idea of additional bits and pieces you can make changes to here. But even then, it's like really limited in terms of what they let you do. So unfortunately, not much we can do there just yet. Yeah, it is a missing part. And Google quite often rolls out updates really, really quickly, but they don't roll them out completely, which means that we quite often get products from them that are sort of half-assed, and we have to wait for them to get their stuff in order. All right, just quickly going to go through some of the update sections here. So once again, use it as a mini website, so you can add updates, offers, and events. What that looks like is an update treated like a bit of a blog post, but more newsworthy, right? So not like an evergreen information, informative blog post, like a top 10 top 10 reasons why you probably can't sleep that well at night. I'm only saying that because I was up from like 1 to 3 a.m. for whatever reason. But treat this as like an update. Say, hey, we've got new stock. We've got a new team member. We moved premises. We now offer a new service, whatever it might be, and put that stuff in here. Obviously, there's a call to action that you can have in there. So if there's something that you want people to do, an action that you want them to take, put that button in there. The other things you can do here is offers. Now, an offer would be specifically, let's say stock clearance or Black Friday or Christmas is coming up, whatever offers you might have, free consultation, whatever works for your business, you can add that in here as well. Obviously, the offer details, voucher, if that's a system that you've set up, terms and conditions, link to redeem offer, etc. So super handy. Yes, and then the last one here is an event. So you might run a workshop, for example, or whatever sort of event, seminar, whatever you're running. This is an additional thing you can add in. And the reason I would use this is not so much because it will show up on your profile if you would have any updates, but when people look for things to do around me on Saturday, I don't know. So let's say I'm on Google and I'm trying to find stuff to do. Actually, let me go to the homepage of Google. Sometimes what happens is Google will show up allow. I don't need that. Sometimes Google will actually have like an events section somewhere, and it's a bit hit and miss, but it'll pop up to say, oh, here you go. So things to do in Perth this weekend. Let's say you've got that event happening. Chances are once you've actually set up an event in your profile, it might come up here as an event because Google essentially has all that information now, and they will take that from your profile, put it in here, and you can see that if people are looking for something, that will come up now. So once again, another chance to get some eyeballs on your business. All right, and then as for reviews, we covered that bit. Now, the little blocks underneath here, they keep changing. And this is basically just repeats some of the stuff that you see in those blue buttons here. So get a custom email is Google trying to get you to buy the Google Workspace product. Set up your booking link, obviously, we talked about. Create an offer, add an update, get more reviews. We've looked at all that. Now, this does change from time to time, so just keep an eye on that, like, once every month or so, or a couple of weeks, just jump in and see if there's anything that's new and interesting. And then, okay, any questions before I jump into the next thing? I've still got about 5 minutes, and I want to quickly show you guys something. So to get into that top 3, and let's say I'm going to go back in here to get into the top 3 results here. So obviously there's 2 things you can do here. So the first thing is to really optimize your entire profile and make sure that all the keywords are in there and all the links are filled out and all the photos are uploaded and whatever, right? But that still doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be ranking number 1. You do need another tool for this, or another ingredient, so to speak. And what that is let's see, yellow pages. Essentially, we need to get citations. And a citation is essentially another website that would mention your name, your address, and your phone number exactly as it would be listed on your actual Google business profile. Now, a citation is nothing more than a business listing. So if I were to look for, I don't know, tile cleaning, tile cleaning, and I'm going to find it in, hold on. And I'm not saying to start your Yellow Pages listing, but I'm just going to show you the example of what a citation is, because then the next part makes more sense. You can see here, this is essentially, if I were to go into, I don't know, Millennium Services Group. So NAP, once again, name, that's the N. A is your address, and the P is for a phone number. So essentially, this is a citation. And there's lots and lots of websites like Yellow Pages out there. And what Google does is they reference all these websites to see, hey, so we've got a listing here for one of, let's say, I don't know, Wizard Carpet Cleaning, and they're saying that, this is their title, their name, their address is underneath there, and then their phone number is in there as well. So what Google does is they're going to find all these pages out there that are referencing the specific NAP details. And the more of these they see, the more accurate they believe their data to be, and the higher you're going to start ranking, because essentially Google is in the business of giving us the most relevant answers they can, because as soon as their data is going to show us bad results, we're going to stop using them and we might switch to a different search engine provider, and they're going to lose billions of dollars. So everything Google does is to make sure that everything they show a user is as relevant as it can be. So if I would have, say, 50 different citations across the web and they're all, referencing the exact same details, that's a strong indicator to Google that, hey, this business is exactly who they say they are. That's indeed their phone number. That's really their name. And it basically adds more to the trustworthiness level, if that's even a word, to the actual profile itself. Now, to get all these citations, instead of having to go and find all those websites yourself and then trying to do manual, uploads, it'll probably take you about half an hour to 45 minutes per listing. There's a tool called brightlocal.com. And I probably recommend this at least 5-6 times a week to small businesses. The reason I would use this is there's 3 things. First and foremost, we can only cover so much in an hour, but if you want to really know more about local SEO and really understand how it all works and how you can really rank higher, they have a free section which is all about local SEO learning. There's a lot of videos, articles. So this is super, super helpful. Because obviously they can go in much more depth than I did in just an hour, but go through there. Then the second thing that is important here is the tool that they offer. Now, they can essentially connect to your business profile. If they do a free trial for 14 days, and even then after that, it's very, very reasonable. They only charge $29 a month US, so that's about 39 Australian at the moment. And the things that they do is you get some reports in terms of your local ranking. So they'll basically ask you, what keywords are you trying to be found for? They're going to see where you currently are ranking, where your competitors are ranking for those keywords, what citations your competitors have that you might be missing out on. It'll give you feedback in terms of, hey, suggestions like, add these keywords to your profile, make those changes, etc. And then the biggest thing that is important is the citation service that they provide. So essentially, they do the hard work for you. They would build those citations like we just looked at Yellow Pages. They would actually go create the accounts, set up all the information, update the listings, get them published, and keep an eye on them. And what happens is, all they would ask for you is a specific master sheet from you to have all the information that any of those listing sites would require. So logos, photos, name, address, phone number, descriptions, services, all the stuff that basically is part of Google My Business profile. And they basically check all that information. Then you can pick and choose which sites you want to get listed on. And they charge $2. And that's not a typo. That's $2 per listing. And essentially, say for $100, you can get 50 citations within a couple of weeks set up. Yeah, LinkedIn and Facebook are also treated as citations. So definitely worth doing. because this has really taken away a lot of the like 50 citations would normally take you about a week. I'd rather pay $100 and get it done. And then they keep a track of it. They also change a lot. You might have some old listings out there, like you might have moved premises and it's all of a sudden not relevant anymore. Instead of you having to go dig through all that stuff, you can basically ask them, hey, have you found anything that's, my NAP is incorrect? If they find anything, you can tell them, okay, for another $2, please go and fix up whatever old listings are out there. So highly recommend it, brightlocal.com. This is the one tool that I would use for my private clients as well to manage and optimize things. So this is normally typically the type of stuff an SEO agency or a marketing or digital agency would charge you a few $1,000s a month for. Trust me, I know, I've been there. I used to own an agency years ago. And essentially they would use similar tools like this. And obviously they do all the work for you. So it's really hands-off for you. But even if you have some time and you might not have a big budget, this is highly recommended. It's a month-by-month thing, so there's no lock-in contract. So yeah. All right, cool. Looking at the time, I think we're hitting the hour. Any final questions before we jump off of this? Because I think we covered pretty much everything. And was it useful? Did you have some insights and did you learn something new? It's been very good. Thank you, Michelle. And also just a reminder to, if you want to have any questions that, might come up after, send me an email at bob@businessstation.com.au and I'll be happy to answer any questions that might have popped up after we hung up. Yeah, just set it up now. Yeah, brilliant. I hope that was useful, Tracy. Or sorry, Michelle. Go through Bright Local and then once again, go through the insights and do some more learning as well, because there's a wealth of knowledge in there, which can really help you rank high, which in turn will make sure that you get plenty of new business through Google. All right, perfect. I'm going to stop sharing and I think we're about done. Thank you for this morning. I hope you have a wonderful day and might see you in the next one. You're welcome. See you, everyone.